Hey everybody, happy Monday. Welcome to Spread the Light. This is a series that I've been doing for about 2 months now, really to propagate the consciousness that we are already divine, that we have infinite potential as beings, and that the more we become aware of that and talk about it and take action in the knowledge that we have higher purpose and each and every one of us have something unique and special to contribute here, it becomes more and more actionable for more and more people. So right now I'm focusing on talking about universal law. So these laws that govern existence, that govern creation, that are invisible, and that we can harness, and that when we are in more alignment with these laws, our lives proceed in a more harmonious, graceful way. So that even when we are facing challenges or rigorous circumstances or curriculum in our lives, that we're able to navigate those with grace and actually use them for our expansion. So last week we looked at the law of non-resistance, and today we're going to talk about the law of forgiveness. Just looking back at last week to summarize what we talked about then, the law of non-resistance basically can be summarized with the words that what we resist persists. And so resisting something is the last way to make it go away. It actually amplifies it and makes it grow in our experience. And so we talked about applying the law of resistance in life, in that if we stop resisting and start focusing on actually what we want to create, where our attention goes is where energy flows, right? So that's one of the other laws, right? If we place our attention on what we don't want, or if we are in resistance to something, we're in relationship with it. We're actually in attachment when we are in resistance to something. And so that will continue to amplify that thing, whatever it is in our experience. So another thing that we talked about was refusing to argue as a way of applying the law of non-resistance. Refusing to argue. Because first of all, if you are in alignment with truth, truth is truth and will always be truth. It doesn't need us to stand up and fight for it. And of course, anything that we do in a fighting or conflictual way just amplifies the chaos and the fighting and the conflict and the anger that is already present, and we're just contributing to that vibration. If we decide that, we're going to not argue, it's because we have accepted that we don't need to be right. And when we don't need to be right, the ego is less at play, and the ego can serve the higher self. And finally, we talked about finding ways to allow your prosperity to flow to you easily, as a way of applying non-resistance, because a lot of times we're in unconscious resistance to our own good. And so there's a question you can ask yourself, which is, would it really be okay with me? Would it really be okay with me if my life were easier, if my life were more graceful, if I had more prosperity in every way? Would it really be okay with me? And if you deeply ask yourself that question, and not just on a superficial level, of course it's okay. If you really deeply ask yourself that question, you might feel a reaction or a response in your body, which is a sort of contraction or tightening up. And that's our clue that there is some kind of resistance on the subconscious level to actually living a life of greater ease, to connecting with our gifts, to being truly happy, to accepting love, to accepting abundance, or anything that is for our good. So non-resistance we can apply there too, and sort of think of how to allow our prosperity, our abundance to reach us, and this idea that we actually could be deserving of that, innately deserving of that, and not have to earn it in some way. We could be innately deserving of all our good if we simply open to that. Finally, we talked about loving our enemies. This idea of sacred friends. Sacred friends are the ones who are the hardest to love. And that segues right into what we're going to talk about today with the law of forgiveness. And forgiveness is a law. It is an invisible law, because as long as we're not forgiving, we're actually holding a block inside our own energy field, right? And so there's going to be a lack of flow, no matter how awesome we are at, achieving things and bringing our dreams into realization. If there is a lack of forgiveness inside our energy field, it's going to limit us in some way. So that's what we're talking about today. Key concepts today about forgiveness. Forgiveness is actually something that frees us. It's never about the other person. Now, I know a lot of people feel like some things are impossible to forgive. We're going to talk about that. But the first concept here is that forgiveness frees us. It's for us. It's not for anybody else. Forgiveness is a shift in perception. It's about seeing things differently, as so many things are. A shift in perception, a little bit, goes a long way. Forgiveness is a choice. It's a choice that we make, and it's a process. It's something that we don't just do once. It's something that we get better and better at as we're going along. So forgiveness is for us. Forgiveness frees us. So as long as you're holding somebody hostage in your mind for something they did to you, or something that you wish that they had done that they never did, whatever it is, if you're holding somebody hostage in your mind, if somebody is in jail in your mind, there has to be a jailer. And the jailer is you. You're every bit as stuck in that prison as the person that you put there, right? If you look at it that way. So forgiveness is a way of opening up possibilities in ourselves. If there's somebody who, when they walk across the street of your mind, you tighten up or you go on the attack, you have forgiveness work to do. And my mentor, Mary Morrissey, says, how do you know you have forgiveness work to do? If you're breathing. If you're breathing. So we all have forgiveness work to do. And it behooves us to do that work, because our lack of forgiveness or our resentment in any area is a block inside our own energy field. Now, I know that a lot of people believe that some things are just too awful to forgive. And it's true that terrible things happen in this world that we would never wish to have happen. We would never wish on anybody, and we wouldn't wish on ourselves, and yet they happened. And the challenge is really for us to find a kind of openness, an inner spaciousness, to allow things to be as they have been, and totally accept what has been, what has happened, because it's happened. We can't change that. And to find the inner space within us to start to forgive. Because it's never about the other person. It's always about us. This is such an important thing. You holding somebody else hostage in your own mind does nothing to them. It only hurts you. It only hurts you. So if we shift our perception around forgiveness, it can help understand this. If you think of every act as either an expression of love or a call for love, no matter how unskillful that act is or was, it can help us to see things differently. So the first place to consider it is in our own actions, right? Consider a time perhaps when your actions, my actions, felt hurtful to another person, or we did something that we're not proud of, right? Would you say, can you find in there that your action, whatever it was either an expression of love or a call for love, no matter how unskillful that act was? That's what people do. And sometimes people have been so hurt and so damaged and so traumatized that their model for love, it has been distorted. But all they're trying to do is ask for, call for love, or express love the way that they've understood what love is, even if it seems to us very distorted. And it can happen to us too, right? So if we start with ourselves and ask ourselves, okay, well, that thing that I did, the way that I behaved, the thing that I regret, whatever that was, if I ask myself, in what way was I expressing or trying to express love through that action, or trying to ask for love desperately calling for love through that action, it's a place where we can start to open up our perception around the possibility that that's true for us and that it's also true for other people. So now if you consider the actions of another where perhaps you felt hurt, would you guess that their actions might be a call for love or an expression of love in some way, no matter how unskillful that action might have been? This is something to ponder, and something to ponder in your heart about the things that have been hard to take in your own life. So it can shift things for us to consider that someone else's action was a call for love or an expression for love. It can open us up to the possibility of compassion in that instance, even if we don't agree. And forgiveness is not about sanctioning the things that other people do that are hard to take. It's not about putting yourself in danger, or you still have to set boundaries. You still have to stand up for yourself, but it does mean that you no longer hold another hostage for what they've done, because that's just damaging you. Now, A Course in Miracles says that forgiveness is a shift in perception that removes a block in me to my awareness of love's presence. So the block is in me. It's not out there, and it's not anybody else's block. Forgiveness is a shift in perception. It allows us to see differently, and it removes a block that was in me all along, and that block does not allow me to see the presence of love, which is everywhere. So it only hurts me because it keeps me in separation. It narrows my focus, and it keeps me in separation away from love, away from the power of love. So when we're able to recognize that another's actions come from either an expression of or a call for love, we're able to see, perceive, feel, sense the presence of love. Because that's all anybody wants anyway, is love, or to be loved and to express love. So it's a shift in perception. When the shift happens in that moment and we're able to see love, that's the beginning of compassion. Forgiveness is a choice. We have to decide that we're going to let go of our own burdens in order to forgive other people or to forgive ourselves. And really, at the end of the day, you may feel like, okay, well, I've put a lot of things to rest. I'm at peace with a lot of things. And maybe we don't feel that we carry great resentment anymore, but ultimately the biggest forgiveness, the greatest act of forgiveness that we have is forgiving ourselves. Forgiving ourselves for anything and everything, for being human, for making mistakes. That's what's really at the bottom of all forgiveness, is the forgiveness, deep, deep, profound forgiveness and self-acceptance, acceptance of us, of ourselves, of our flawed nature, of our humanity. And it's a choice to do that. Now, no doubt, each of us has had or will have an experience of betrayal in some way. And again, it's how we hold things, right? We may feel that, if we're sick, that our body has betrayed us. We may feel that another person has betrayed us, or an institution has betrayed us, right? But whatever that is, we get to decide. We get to decide how we're going to allow that experience to make us either bitter and close us off and shut us down, or make us better, more expansive, to open our heart. The purpose of on the spiritual, in a spiritual arc of things, the purpose of things that are really hard, traumas, difficulties, betrayals, things that are hard to forgive, is to open the heart. There's actually a gift inside each and every one of those situations that can help us to open the heart. And when we open our heart, it changes life completely. It's the gift you give yourself to open your heart. You open your heart to yourself, and then you end up opening your heart to other people, and life looks totally different, and it feels totally different. So you can decide Forgiveness is a decision that you make to no longer carry resentment, to no longer carry something hard, a block in your own energy that's actually blocking your own good from coming to you. Finally, it's a process. You don't forgive once and that's it and it's done. Forgiveness is peeling the onion. We may think that we've forgiven everything, and then we discover that there was more to forgive, especially with regard to ourselves. We walk by falling down. When we're babies, that's how we learn. And it's completely acceptable to us when we watch babies learning to walk and they fall down, they just get right back up and they keep walking, and eventually they walk, right? And it's the same thing with forgiveness. Sometimes we're going to feel like we've forgiven something, and then all of a sudden, our mind takes us back to that feeling of being hurt, and we have conversations in our head with the person that, who hurt us. Or as long as we're doing the work of forgiveness and shifting our perceptions and reminding ourselves that every act is a call for love or an expression of love, no matter how unskillful that act is, as long as we're doing the work and choosing to allow the experience to shape us and help us expand rather than take us down and make us smaller, then it's a process, and we're going to be forgiving ourselves and others and situations in the world over and over and over again as part of the journey of the expansion of our heart, which is the journey that we're all on. So you notice that over time, as you do this work, the feelings of hurt or the feelings of betrayal or the feeling of hard anger that you might have about something or someone will start to dissolve and dissipate and be replaced by feelings of compassion and feelings of love and eventually feelings of forgiveness. How can you tell whether you have forgiveness work to do? Yes, if you're breathing, number one. But if you want to really know if you've forgiven something or someone or not, when you think about it, does it create an emotional charge in you? You can feel that charge, right? If you tune into your body, are you able to remain expanded, or do you feel a sense of tightening, like you're trying to armor or protect yourself against something, or you feel an anger and energy that comes up, even if it's subtle? If there's a contraction of some kind, there's still work to do there. So we just keep doing the work, It's a process. I feel like I keep forgiving the same things over and over and over again. But it's true that it gets smaller and smaller. As the light in me gets bigger, that thing starts to dissolve in the light. And then it's only a matter of time, as long as you're doing the work. So here's a helpful question that you can, an experiment that you can conduct in your own life, is ask yourself the question, what is there for me to forgive today? What is there for me to forgive today? And some questions that can help you answer that question. Where can I free someone else and in turn be free myself? Who is it? That person will jump to mind. Who is it that I'm holding hostage? And how, by freeing that person, can I free myself? And where can I shift my perception and be open to the awareness of the presence of love when I'm feeling most closed off, most like I want to take my toys and go home, or sit in the corner and protect myself, or be in separation? Where can I shift my perception to be open to the awareness of love's presence in this moment? So that's what I have to say about forgiveness today. You guys, thank you for those of you who are writing to me and telling me that you love this weekly lesson. I'm very happy that you're getting something out of it. And I want to let you know about a couple things coming up. On Wednesday, I get to hang out with my friend and colleague, Dr. Keela Rosner, a naturopathic doctor. I visited with her a couple of weeks ago, and this week she's visiting with me. We're going to be talking about radiant health. And we're going to talk about it from her perspective and from my perspective, and we're going to blend our approaches to see that it's really all one. It's going to be a really fruitful conversation, and so I hope that if you have a desire to create radiant health in your life, and who doesn't, or if you're struggling with a health issue right now, that you'll come and join us for that free conversation. I posted about it on Facebook and on Instagram. There's a link in my bio on Instagram to register for the webinar. That's on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's coming up on Wednesday. Super excited about that. It's always fun to hang out with Keela. And it's a webinar, so we can take your questions. Just register, and hope to see you then. And then on Saturday, there's going to be a vision workshop. So I'm going to be sending out some information about that soon. Stay tuned. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. It's Claire Lautier, Life Mastery Consultant. And on Instagram, it's Claire Lautier, LMC. Okay. Also, Tuesday night yoga is continuing. It's a free class on Zoom. So message me if you are not registered and you want to. Okay. Have a great week, you guys. I'll see you again next week. Lots of love, many blessings in the meantime.